So I got so excited that I forgot to hit the record button. And so that whole monologue that I just did, we missed out on it. Who the recording is going to miss out on it, but we're gonna keep it moving. Here we go. I want to share a couple of slides with you, just for a moment. All right, can you all see the screen? Thumbs up if you can see it. All right, I see it. Thank you, Leslie. Absolutely. First of all, when we talk about a tip as to how we're going to get through resiliency and what is resiliency and how do we get through the leadership challenges in this moment? How do we lead inclusively through anxiety, crisis, and without burning out? How do we do that? What is a tip that will help us to do that? Well, the first thing that we need to understand is that mindset is everything. So I say how we do it is we do it with understanding our mindset. When we talk about resiliency, when we talk about life's adversity, when we talk about an industry that it has been turned upside down, that's the diversity, equity, and inclusion industry. When we're talking about the work life that has been turned upside down. So not, I read the other day that I think close to 140,000 federal employees have been let go of their jobs over the past 100 days. Now, first of all, that we got to think about the people that has been let go of their jobs. Then we got to think about the services that they have been let go of from. So that's going to impact us. Then we got to look at the impact on the economy. 100,000 people let go from the federal government over the last 100 days. So when I talk about leading through uncertain times, I'm not just talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion. I'm talking about people and the workforce and what we're experiencing right now in this current time. We need resiliency. But here it is. Everything comes to our mindset. We don't suffer because of the thing. We suffer because of the way we see the thing. We don't suffer because of the thing. We suffer because of the way we see the thing. Somebody throw something in the chat function. What does that talk? What does that mean to you? What does that mean to you? Let's have a conversation just about that one statement. We don't suffer because of the thing. We suffer because of the way we see the thing. Now, these two folks in prison, I know if I was in prison, I would be suffering. That would just really mess me up. But it also speaks to me in this picture that sometimes we can be in prison in our minds because the way we see the thing, because the way we see the adversity. And so when we want to talk about how do we become resilient, the first key to resiliency is understanding our mindset about the thing that we're going through. Now, if you understand anything, if you've ever been in any kind of circumstance where you have had some type of medical procedure and you have to go into the doctor and go in and have an operation, they always talk to you about mindset. The person who's going into it with a positive mindset is more likely to survive and more likely to be able to thrive after the procedure. When you go into something with a negative mindset, my goodness, it really puts us in a bad place. Let's go to the chat function and see what we got here. See what we have here in terms of this mindset question. It's all about your perception perspective. Can you share a little bit more about that, if you don't mind? If you wouldn't mind coming off the chat and just share with us, what are you saying right there?
Well, it's kind of like when you look across the top here, the different variety of people that we have means different experiences, means different education, the whole thing. And that's our filter, that's our window that we see the world. So if you are raised, perfectly happy and positive and all that, that's your filter, that's how you see the world. If you don't, then it's all about your perception and your perspective, to me.
It's all about your perception, your perspective. It's all about how you see the world. Now, that doesn't mean that we're not going to experience bad stuff. Doesn't mean that at all. I know I have so many bad stuff I could share with you. But what it means is we're going to experience that pain, but how do we look at that pain as the pain, or do we look at that pain as opportunity? Because when I look at pain as opportunity, then that helps me to begin to think about some things differently and reset how I'm going to move through that pain. See, everybody on this call, we've had some type of pain, right? That's one of the things I love about resiliency. Talking about resiliency is universal to everyone. There's no color to resiliency. There's no gender to resiliency. Resiliency cannot be attacked by any political persuasion or any societal issues. Everybody has to understand what resiliency is, and everybody has had resiliency. Brad talks about it's all about how we perceive it. Your attitude affects your emotions. It impacts our emotions. Valerie, talk to me about that. It impacts our emotions. What do you mean by that? It impacts our emotions.
I think about when I'm going through different obstacles and challenges, how I kind of internalize it emotionally
Mm-hmm.
and the impact that it has on me. So, example, I do DEI work, and so constantly hearing and getting information about what's going on at other universities. And I know that, colleagues mean well and they send you this stuff, but it's like, well, wait a second. And I'm now internalizing, like, where am I? And realizing that I think I'm resilient. I've been around for a long time, but there are times when emotionally I'm like, I just can't deal with it. And so, having to have those kind of conversations. And so I think for me, it has impacted my emotions on whether I can be resilient and how I show up in different spaces.
Absolutely, absolutely. I love it. I love it. And the circumstance can impact how I show up emotionally.
Hmm.
So therefore, as I think about being resilient, I have to protect my emotions,
Hmm.
the things that come into me. I have to begin to filter some stuff out, right? Because otherwise, then I that may draw me down and may
Hmm.
bring me down. Absolutely. So when we think about this whole notion around mindset, we also have to think about how do we protect our minds. I got a couple of ideas that I'm going to share with you later just on that, but I would like to hear your ideas. I want to go back to the slide because there's another piece that I want to share with you around this thought around mindset. And let's see. All right. Y'all see the slide?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Now, here we go. So mindset's everything. Here's another way to think about it. As an entrepreneur, and just someone in life in general, but I used to say I can't afford it. I used to say I can't afford it. And one of my mentors said, well, William, you need to stop saying you can't afford it. Because he said the moment that you say you can't, your imagination shuts down. The moment that you say you can't do something, your imagination shuts down. And so what I've done is I asked the question, how can I afford it? How can I afford it is a totally different way of seeing the thing, right? And so when we say I can't, my imagination, I've closed off possibilities with I can't. How can I opens up possibilities. So give you a case in point. I am in the midst of writing my second book. And the second book is all around resiliency. I'm not gonna share the title with y'all yet. I'm almost there, but I'm not gonna share it yet. But it's all around resiliency. Now, when I wrote the first book, I had enough resources in reserves that I could afford to pay for that book at the time of the writing and when the publisher need payment. This time around, I don't have the resources in reserves. But I didn't say to myself, I'm not going to write the book because I cannot afford it. I said to myself, I'm going to write the book and I got to figure out how I can afford to pay for it. So guess what? The manuscript is already done. And now I'm working on the how to afford it. because when my imagination has opened up so much so that I have a lot of ideas on how I'm going to afford it. And so when you see the book, you're going to be like, yep, Will figured it out. He didn't stay in the I can't. He went into and leaned into how can I, right? And so as we think about, we're not going to go into breakout sessions, just a couple of us on here. I want you to take a moment and think about this question, write it down, and let's talk about this question right here. How can I lead inclusively in the midst of uncertainty and anxiety? Right? Think about that question. Write it down. Write what your thoughts on this. How can I lead inclusively? And y'all see, I didn't ask you, can you? I didn't ask you to respond if you can or if you can't. I'm asking you to put your mindset in the place that you can. Now, how can you do it? Now, I'm pushing you a little bit because when we think about, especially in this place around diversity, equity, inclusion, and let me say something else. When we talk about diversity, equity, inclusion, stop using DEI. DEI, the acronym is gone. What we need to do is we need to use diversity, equity, and inclusion, because diversity, equity, and inclusion are very distinct differences, have distinct purposes, and they can be used together or they can be used separately. So think about it and they also speak to the individual. DEI does not speak to the individual. DEI speaks to an ideology, a thought. Is more of shorthand. Diversity, equity, and inclusion speaks to the individual. And there's no way around that we cannot get away from. We can use the words, and I love belonging. We can use all types of words, human centered, but at the end of the day, we still talking about diversity, all of us, equity, making sure everybody has the tools that they need to be successful, and inclusion, making sure everybody's at the table and have opportunities for leadership. How can I lead inclusively in the midst of uncertainty and anxiety? I'm going to stop, see what we got inside of the chat. Drew says, by being open to learning from challenges and by continuing to focus on what I know to be true. I love that, Drew. Can you speak a little bit more about that, especially that last part when you say what I know to focus on what I know to be true? Speak to us about your thinking there.
In the chat or with the microphone?
With the microphone.
The data tells us, the studies tell us that diverse teams have the capacity to consistently and significantly outperform homogeneous teams when they are properly led and managed. That data comes from the McKinsey Company and a lot of other points of reference. So continuing to advocate for that and to figure out how to accomplish that, in addition to learning from, I mean, I listen to the full spectrum of criticism and try to learn from it. Like, what do people believe and why, and where does that fit with what I believe to be true?
Absolutely. So the data. So we need to make sure that we focus in on what is the data telling us, right? And so a lot of times, and you know, there's a narrative behind that data. There are people behind that data, and so what we have to do is look at not only national data, but looking at our own internal data. So one of the things, how can I lead inclusively? One way to lead inclusively is to make sure that I'm paying attention to my team members' experiences, my employees' experiences, or my customer experiences internally. I'm making sure that I understand what's happening on the ground in my organization. Because here's the reality, y'all. If we do, let's say we do a climate survey or an employee engagement survey, and we have it broken down and we have it segmented and disaggregated by all the demographics. And I'm not even gonna use race or gender. Let's say, for example, we have our night shift workers. So we have 3 shifts in our organization. And let's say our night shift workers, they have a different experience than our day shift workers. And their experiences are, and there's usually a gap between our night shift and our day shift, and night shifts workers usually have a less, more negative experience. And when we look at what they say to us, they say, well, you know what? Everything happens, all professional development opportunities happens at before 9 to 5. My manager, I don't see lead big managers or senior executives after 5 o'clock when I'm on. Now they may walk around and visit other folks, but they don't visit the night shift. When we're doing ice cream socials, we don't get a chance to do the ice cream social unless we have to come in to work earlier. So right there, our data is showing us a gap. And so when we begin to look at the gap, when we look at the gap, now we got to ask ourselves the question, how do we close that gap? That's how I lead inclusively, right? And so, and I understand what's happening locally within the context of my organization. So one way to think about leading inclusively is to understand what's happening locally in my organization. See, throw all that other noise away. And as Drew said, focus on the things that matters, and the things that matter are your people and your organization. So understand what their experiences are, then that helps you to lead inclusively. Stephanie says, by being authentic, flexible, listening and learning into and leaning into relationships, people that I interact with. Absolutely. So Stephanie, share with us, if you don't mind, how do you lean into relationships? I'm curious about that, leaning into the relationships.
Well, the first part is to recognize that, at least for me, that I'm interacting with people, like not a role, not, an entity, but a real human being, and focusing on what does that person need from me as an individual, and then what can I give to them. Um, and using that kind of as my gauge and in terms of how I navigate. Some people want to just be heard, and that's fine. I can be somebody they can talk to. Some people want to do something. Then maybe my strategy is to figure out how I can come up with actions that they can take to address whatever the issue is. So it's just really learning from the people that I'm dealing with, what they need, how they need it, and being realistic about what I can offer.
I love that. Oh, and I especially love that end part about being realistic about what I can offer. Y'all, look, I want to be Superman and show up and be a superhero and fix everybody's problems, but I cannot. I'm only a mere mortal. I'm human. So I have my limitations. So, but I need to communicate my limitations to my colleagues and to my friends and to how I'm showing up. And I think that people will trust that and respect that. And then understanding that we are people. We're not a thing, we're a people. So I really like that reframing of the people. Y'all, this conversation is all about how we're reframing. How do we lead inclusively? We have to reframe our mindset, and reframing our mindset is that we're dealing with people. We're not dealing with DEI. We're dealing with people. And so then how do we engage with people? How do we lead inclusively with people? Becky says by being honest and transparent and focusing on what we can control. Absolutely. I appreciate it. Brad says by continuing to keep eyes and ears on the full horizon, remaining open, sensitive to all observations, whether in group interactions or in the organization. I've seen this several times, being open, understanding and and observing across the full spectrum. So being there in the moment. I think Drew said that one of the things that we have to do is listen to the other side. Yeah. If I'm going to be resilient, if I'm going to survive the storm, I have to understand the other side. Not to get spiritual on y'all, but if you know anything about, if you read the Bible, even if you read it from a historical context, when you read the scripture, there's a story in there that talks about when Jesus was being tempted by Satan, and Satan came to Jesus after Jesus spent 40 days of fasting. So Jesus was tired. He was emotionally drained, and he was just worn out. And Satan came to Jesus and like, hey, if you are truly the Son of God, and he tempted him on 3 occasions. And the devil said, it's written. And then Jesus came back and said, it's also written. What's the point of that message is that the devil understood the Bible, but Jesus understood the Bible as well. What am I saying? We need to understand all of the laws, all of the executive orders. We need to understand it just as much as they understand it. Woo! Because when you understand it, when you dig in there, you begin to see some of the inconsistencies and some of the loopholes. For example, when you look at I want to say it's the Dear Colleague letter. I'm not necessarily sure. I think it's the Dear Colleague letter. But when you look at that letter, you look at the footnote. See, sometimes the details, they say the devil in the details, you got to look at the footnote. And the footnote says in the Dear Colleague letter, these are just, this is not legal. This is not a legal document. This is not, it's a directive, but it's not law. See, now we all, oh, it's the Dear Colleague. Oh my goodness, they say it's law. It's not law, y'all. Law is Title VII. That's law. And if you stand within the limits of Title VII, you working in legal aspects of the law, right? And so we need to measure what we're doing based off of Title VII and not based off of these other things. Now, again, not to say that these other things don't have teeth. Yeah, they got teeth. Absolutely, they have teeth. I understand that. But as we look at how we're going to lead inclusively and the things that I can control, I need to understand what the law says. Then I can look at the directive, that's the executive orders. Then I can look at the directives and I can say, okay, is this directive in direct conflict with the law? Is it confusing the law? But as long as I'm following the law, I'm good to go until the law changes. So that's how we can lead inclusively, is to understand what all this stuff is saying. Leslie says, by meeting students where they are, everyone is doing their best that they can under difficult circumstances, providing grace. I love that. Grace. We need to, there are 4 things that I try to lead with. Grace, mercy, empathy, and love. If I lean into grace, mercy, empathy, and love, what does that mean? That means grace. I'm going to give you something you didn't deserve. I'm going to give you grace. You said something and I didn't really appreciate it, but you know what? I have a relationship with you. I'm going to give you some grace. Empathy. I've not experienced a death of a child, but I've experienced death. I've experienced sorrow. I'm gonna walk beside you. I can't walk in your shoes, but I can walk beside you and be there with you. As we look at love, love is an agape love. Drew, let me tell you, if you can hear us, we're getting, thank you for giving us a tour of your house. Now, yeah, I've been to Drew's house. It is a nice house. But we can see you touring us around. And so you may want to mute your camera. And you're on mute. So we saw the house and we can't hear you. So there we go. You got a wonderful house, let me tell you.
Yes.
So we have grace, mercy, love, and empathy. Love is that agape love. I don't need you to love me in order for me to love you. So how do I lead inclusively? I lead inclusively when I'm in the space leading with grace. Y'all, somebody said something, it may be off a little bit, but hey, you know what? I love you humanity, so I'm not about to come back and clap back at you. I'm gonna give you some grace. I'm gonna give you a little mercy because I could really clap back, but I choose not to. I'm gonna have restraint. Mercy is I'm gonna have some restraint not to do that. And then love, I love your humanity. And so when we try to walk in life, that's a sign of a resilient leader. And let me also say something about a resilient leader. Write this down if you haven't written it already. A resilient leader is not, you're not born a resilient leader. Resiliency is built through the crucible of life. You were born into a crisis. You were born out of crisis. And as you continue to experience different life crises, you begin to gain more resiliency. So you can't read a book about resiliency and think that you're going to be resilient. Resiliency comes from life. It comes from the adversity of life. So once we have lived, and I'm not going to say lived long enough, because everybody, no matter what your age, goes through some aspects. When you had that first heartbreak, woo-wee. Think about when you had that first heartbreak, whatever age you were when you had that first heartbreak. Let me tell you, that was a tough period in your life right then and there. You couldn't eat, you couldn't sleep, you didn't want to do nothing, but you made it through. And the reason you made it through and you survived that one, and you also survived that second heartbreak, if you had a second heartbreak, is because of resiliency, the thing that you built through that life tragedy, that life circumstance. Let's go back to a slide. Let me stop right there. Anything, what's put in the chat function, something that's just popping up, something that's just connecting in with you right now. Put in the chat function. Anything that's connecting with you, anything that you're like, yep, well, that's on point, or nope, that's not on point, or I just want to add this to the conversation. This is a chat, this is a conversation. So put in the chat function. Michelle, resiliency is a teacher. Yes, I love it. I wrote a LinkedIn post about that one. The best teacher I've ever had was resiliency. Woo. My granny, I tell y'all, my granny, she told me one time, I was talking with my granny, and she's since passed away. And she said, son, let me tell you something. She said, you keep God at the center, and when you keep him at the center, you're gonna be able to deal with life's lessons, and you're gonna have a lot of life lessons after I'm gone. I was like, Granny, I was like, I don't know, maybe 10 or 11. I was like, nah, Granny, I'm gonna be okay. I'm gonna be all right. And then when I hit some of those life lessons, my granny just her voice just came back to me, because when I said I'm gonna be all right, she just looked at me and she said, I love you. Now, those who are from the South, you kind of know when they say bless your heart, that's kind of that bless your heart. And that's so her I love you. We're from the Midwest. Her I love you was like that, bless your heart. And basically what she was saying was, she's like, okay, son, you're gonna F around and find out. And I did. And that's basically what she said to me. And I did. Life is the biggest teacher as it relates to resiliency. Valerie, being transparent, but it's also okay to admit that I may not have all the answers. Absolutely. I'm not perfect. I'm not perfect. So as I walk into this space to lead inclusively, I'm going to make some mistakes. And I just need to tell you that, hey, I'm not perfect. So don't hold that against me. And I'm not going to hold that against you either. Right? It's a two-way street there. I love the reminder of being birthed through pain, and we have survived it. Absolutely. Great example of resiliency. Brad, you're right. My granny did have it right. Absolutely. Leslie says, I'm thinking I have to take a deep breath. Remember to breathe, calm the anxiety, and keep moving. We can pass through the adversity. Yes, absolutely, we can pass through this adversity. Being humble enough to receive grace and mercy as well as we give it. Absolutely. Yes. All right, y'all, I'm gonna go to some slides right quick. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I want to go through some slides, and I want to share with you a couple of thoughts here. All right. Self-care. So, okay, let's get into it. So, self-care. If I'm going to be resilient, and if I'm going to lead inclusively in this moment, and it's not just for this moment, y'all. This moment is going to pass. There's going to be another moment. Here's the reality. Write this down. We are either in a storm, we're going through a storm, or we're coming out of a storm. That's just what life is. So either we're in a storm right now in our lives. That could be professional, it could be personal. or we're going into it, we're in it right now, or we're about to go into one, or we're about to come out of one, and then the whole cycle continues. So what we have to do is to understand as we go through life storms that we have to have self-care. That means I got to put my mask on first. And I'm a social worker by training. And so as social workers, we go around and we try to help the entire world and we want to help everybody. And then we burn out because we haven't put our mask on. We're worried about putting everybody else's mask on. I got to put my mask on first. I got to take care of myself so that I have enough energy and wisdom and wherewithal to help take care of somebody else. So I want to give you my top 5 things that I do for self-care that I'm gonna ask you to throw yours in the chat function. Here it is. Number 1, taking a walk. This is me yesterday. I'm walking. I'll try to walk about at least 30 minutes a day, and I clear my mind. I listen to music, or I listen to a sermon, or I listen to a motivational tape, or I'm just thinking about what my next moves are. But I take a walk. That's what I do in order for my self-care. I sit by the water. Now I didn't. Now I could be walking to the water, but I wasn't. So I didn't walk to the water yesterday. But when I do take a walk, there's this park where I live called Salem Lake. I walk around Salem Lake, and I walked around that this morning, and I sat down and took this picture. This picture is of the lake. And so I enjoy sitting by water. That's how I refresh and get my energy. So I can continue to do this because I try to give at all that I can into the people that I engage with. And in order for me to get back energy is I need to be in solitude, and I need to sit down by myself, and I need to sit by the water and contemplate. I limit my news intake. There is so much out there that if I listen to it all, I will get overwhelmed. And so I try to limit my news intake. That does not mean that I don't listen to the news. That doesn't mean that I'm not paying attention. I just limit how much of it is I'm trying to take in. And that's also limiting how much of the echo chamber I take in on my social media as well around what's happening, because it can drain me. I can get depressed if I just listen to every day after day after day after day, everything that's going on. So I try to limit how much I do it. And then I try to binge. I'm so mentally busy with this work that I will binge on my favorite TV shows, TV series. And right now, y'all, I'm on Grey's Anatomy. Well, I'm almost off. And if you know anything about Grey's Anatomy, they have 20 seasons. 20 seasons of Grey's Anatomy. And so I don't know, for the last couple of months since January, I've been watching Grey's Anatomy. Hardly anything else but just Grey's Anatomy. So when I want to watch something, I'll turn on Grey's Anatomy, and I can just kind of I've seen it before. I can just let my mind go, watch that, get away for a minute before I get back in. So those are the things that recharges me. And then I spend time with people who bring me joy. Y'all, this is my wife. She's not on this call. Y'all probably have interacted with her in some aspect of my work. But my wife she brings me joy. We are two opposite people. I'm serious, and she's funny, and she's playful. And so I'm laying on the floor on the Saturday. I think we had an all night movie night or whatever, and I cannot stay up past 10 o'clock. I just can't. And so she's the one that's up at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. I think she took this at 3 o'clock in the morning. And so I didn't tell her I'm gonna share this picture with y'all. So I'm gonna tell her, I said, the joke is on you, because she's like, I'm gonna agitate you and I'm gonna take a picture of you. And so she took this picture and sent it. And I'm saying, I shared your picture with everybody. Now, what you gonna do? So that's gonna stop her from taking pictures with me, but it's not. But she brings joy to my life. And so I just want to say, one way to recharge is we have to engage with people who bring joy to our lives. Put it in the chat function. What are 1 or 2 things that you do to help you recharge so that you don't burn out? Those 5 things I did, they help me so I don't burn out. What are the things you do so we can learn from each other that you do so you don't burn out? Self-care, very true. Self-care is vital. if we are supporters of others. Meditate, time in nature. Yes, time with the Almighty. Absolutely. Church prayer, fellowship with others, sharing time with my wife or grandson. Music. My Harley. Thank you, Brad. Brad got big. Is it a big? Is it a big Harley? Brad, is it one that you just got this roar, it makes all that noise and stuff? Brad's like, yeah. Absolutely. Love it. Love it. Lee, limit my time on social media. Is it, I think I want to say Tanya. If I mispronounce it, you let me know. A long time reading, soak in the sun. I love that sun. Woo, I love that sun, but sometimes it don't love me. You know, my dark skin, when I get into that sun, oh my goodness, when I come out of the sun, it is something else, but I love it nonetheless. Music, I love that music too. Listen to music, watch movies, church, walking in my flower garden. Yes, Rosalind. Work in my rain garden and work with pictures with pitcher plants. Absolutely. Dancing, going for a walk, walking my dog. Absolutely. Spend time with my loved ones, making new memories. I also love conversations with my 92-year-old mom, Alicia. Oh my goodness, that is just whoo, that is just so wonderful. If you if you haven't done it already, please record those conversations because she has some stuff that we need. I ain't even gonna say that your family need. We need to hear what she got to say. Please go ahead and record her right now, because that's some wisdom that we all can use right now. Let me tell you.
Will, I've been doing that every chance I get. She is old school, so she's like, I don't want to be on there, but she's the wisest woman I've ever known, and we learn so. I'm the youngest of 9 kids in our family, so we learn so much from her and from my grandparents. It's such a blessing to still have her.
Yes.
And my husband, of course, lost his parents young,
Mm-hmm.
so he just gravitates to my mom. She's a mom for everybody.
Oh,
That's the
absolutely.
kind of woman she is. So she has so much wisdom.
Absolutely. I tell you what, Alicia, whenever you are ready, whenever you do it, whenever you release that, please let me know because I want to hear it. If you feel comfortable, I need to hear it. Because here's the reality, y'all. Resiliency is something that's learned through life's adversities. But sometimes we don't have to just learn from hitting our heads against the wall. We can learn from somebody else. When my granny was like, baby, let me tell you something. She was trying to say, boy, just listen to what I got to tell you. I can prevent you from doing some stuff. I tell my kids all the time, look, I I can see around the corner. I've been where you are. I can see around the corner. So I'm just trying to, if you just listen to me, I can help you. But human nature, sometimes we don't want to listen. We want to do it our own self. And there you go, Leslie. We hitting ourselves up against the wall. And that's just not for a 25-year-old, that's for a 53-year-old too. That hitting myself up against the wall and the lessons I should have listened to and learned, and I'm still doing it. And so this thing about resiliency, one thing I love about resiliency is that it's not hopelessness. It's there's hope in resiliency because what resiliency says is that I survived something like this before. So if I survived it before, I can survive it again. Now, it don't mean that I'm not going to be hurt. It doesn't mean that there's not going to be scars. Resiliency doesn't mean you're going to come out of the thing
You
unscathed.
what?
But what it does mean is that you can come out of it and will come out of it. Hey,
Hey,
Tony, do me a
listen,
favor.
I don't
Mute
want
your
to cut you
phone
off,
for me.
but everything that you want going to do over there, I don't want to hear that.
Tony,
Bro,
Tony. Oh my goodness. I don't want him to. Oh, y'all, hold on for 1 second. Oh, I think he got it. Okay. Whew. We didn't want to hear somebody's conversation. Well, let me tell you. Um, but absolutely, Alicia, she said, only fools learn everything the hard way. And you know what? I'm gonna tell y'all something. I'm 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 a fool trying to become wise because I didn't learn everything the hard way. So let me tell you, whoo, I appreciate that. Michelle, resiliency also means not apologizing for the things you need. Oh, Michelle, you could just drop the mic. Can you just drop, Michelle, just do this. Just drop the mic. Just lift it. There you go. There you go. I love it. I love it. Because that right there, don't apologize for the things I need. If I'm going to be resilient, I got to tell you, this is what I need. I need this. If I'm going to,
Can I say something? I want to say something
please,
about that, Will,
please.
because I think we're talking about resiliency as leaders, and as leaders, we're often told, "Go, go, go, do," and we don't take care of ourselves, right? And we feel like we have to apologize because we need to care for ourselves, but you can't continue to care for others and the things around you if you're not tending to yourself.
Michelle, that is so true. I look, that just happened to me this morning. I ain't even gonna lie to you. I'm gonna be transparent. If y'all paid attention to me on LinkedIn, you know that I'm just letting it all out. I'm just like just being transparent as I possibly can. I had a rough work week last week. Last week was a rough week emotionally. It was just a rough week. Uh, and today I'm working remotely and I went for an hour and a half walk. And I was like, I'm not going to apologize for this walk. I got to take this. This walk is for me. Because if I cannot get this out, if I can't do this outlet, then stuff is gonna stay all inside of me and then I'm gonna burst. I may explode. And so I said, and I'm not gonna apologize either. When I walked, I didn't, oh my goodness, I gotta get back, I gotta get email. They're gonna be there. Those emails are gonna be there. That phone call I need to make, I'll make it. But right now, I gotta recharge. If I'm gonna lead anybody, if I'm gonna lead my team on how to be resilient, I have to model that, right? And so I appreciate that absolutely. Y'all, we got 6 minutes left. Throw something in the chat function. One thing that you're leaving here with, one thing that you appreciate about the conversation, one thing you're leaving here with, or one thing you appreciate about the conversation. Just throw something, whatever's on your mind, throw it in the chat function. And I got one more slide that I'm gonna share with you. The wisdom of others, love the feedback. Absolutely. I love it too. Look, y'all don't know I needed this just as much as y'all probably thought y'all needed it. I needed it too. Difficult times, difficult times increase your resiliency. Absolutely. Alicia, I will be more intentional about my unapologetic self-care. Yes. Finding the balance for my own needs and verbalized needs um, of my team. Absolutely. Thanks between the linkage between resiliency and self-care. Yes. I'm leaving with it's okay to take time to fresh. Loving hearing everyone. Absolutely. We need that time to refresh. Oftentimes, the bigger the challenge, the more I learn. Whew. Drew, let me tell you, you said something right there. Yeah, let me do this. We got about 5 more minutes. I want to make sure that I'm respectful of your time. I want to bring you to the next conversation that I will be having, which is the Resilient Leader Institute. The Resilient Leader Institute is we're going to meet on 5 consecutive Mondays in June. June 2nd, June 9th, 16th, 23rd, and 30th for 1 hour virtually via Zoom. The cost for this institute is $275 for up to 5 participants. So get a team. If you get a team of 5, that is $55 per person. Y'all, I'm gonna show y'all the website in a minute. What y'all about to get for $55 a person? My goodness, this is a steal. Then not only do we have the group rate, but you also individually, it's $55 a person. So if you don't have a team and you want to participate, it's $55 per person. But let me take you to the website. Can y'all still see the screen? Y'all see on there it says Resilient Leader? Okay, good deal. I just want to just briefly take you, and I'm gonna send this information to you. But essentially, this is what you're going to get. You're going to get a resilient leader assessment. So we're going to look at this assessment will give you 3 archetypes of a resilient leader. Empowered resilient leader, that means you're building the foundational skills. Strategic resilient leader, that means that you are consistency and you're strategically adapting and you're building skills of others. And then a transformative resilient leader, that means that you are now teaching others about how to be resilient. So you are master. You have we don't master resiliency, but what we're doing is we're in a place now to where we can comfortably share with others about being resilient. Then the modules are going to be the high cost of leadership without resiliency. We're going to talk about the 7 key behaviors of resiliency because we don't have, these are not traits, these are behaviors. Then we're going to talk about how resilient leaders lead with care, the care framework, curiosity, awareness, respect, and empathy, and how resilient leaders master difficult conversations with care. And so I'm going to send you this link, and so you can begin to see it. And again, it gives you the registration, all that good stuff. And let me also share with you that how this works is you will take 1 week before. So let's say on the 2nd, a week before the 2nd in May, you're going to get access to a learning platform. And in that learning platform, you're going to take the mini sessions. They're going to be like no less than 10 minutes or no more than 10 minutes, mini sessions on the content. So we flip in the classroom. So it's going to be like me talking to you right now, going through some slides. You're going to have some brief homework. Don't get afraid of homework, but we got to internalize the stuff. So we got to work on it so we can internalize it. And then you come back in the live sessions and we're going to talk about what you learned. So we're flipping the classroom. And so instead of me taking the time trying to teach you in session, the session is conversation on what you learned. And so that's how we're going to do the Resilient Leader Institute, which is going to happen in June. Get a team of 5. I'm telling you, get a team of how much money can that right there is I'm just thinking of the word in terms of you can't beat that price. So get you a team of 5 and come and learn with us as we continue to look at this resilient leader. I love it. Drew says my granny is present as presenting with you. Oh, Drew, that hit me. That hit me, Drew. I'm gonna tell you, I really appreciate that. Y'all, Drew and I, okay, I can't, Drew, I was about to tell him another story, but I can't because it's 2:30. And if I don't let y'all out on time, y'all not gonna come back. I'll be like, that man kept us too long. And so I'm gonna let y'all out on time. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. I will be communicating with you. I hope this worked for you. I hope it gave some value to your life. I hope it met your expectations. I'm looking forward to continue talking with you. Y'all take care. Thank you.